Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to talk to you about the Studio AAA lens flare kit. So lens flare kit is an asset pack that I made in 2021, so it's a couple of years old now, but it is still pretty much the best thing on my website in my opinion. I really enjoy using this asset pack. I really enjoy other people, seeing other people's work using this pack. I will ask around and see if I'm allowed to put some of that stuff on the screen maybe right now, just to show what they do with these assets. Obviously this is a paid asset pack, so this video is just going to show you how to use the pack, how I use the pack, and basically what I'm going to do is recreate some of this artwork that I'll put on the screen right now from scratch and cover how you kind of get to this end result. So before I jump straight into Photoshop, it's really important that whenever you're creating anything, you need to know what the rules are so you know how to break them. I do see a lot of people using this pack, not wrong, but just not to its full effect, or just not in the way I use it basically. Lens flares are, as you know, a consequence of using a lens. It's in the name. The lens flares in this pack are more stylized than a lens flare you might actually get from your camera, like a normal camera. The specific type of lens flare, because when I made this pack, like I did research and stuff and I've just had to load all that stuff up. The specific type of lens flare is called a diffraction spike. Now you'll have seen this type of lens flare on like Hubble telescope photographs, the James Webb telescope ones. If you were on like Tumblr back in like 2014-15 and you used to like the galaxy pictures and stuff that people would put on there, which I did, you've probably seen similar lens flares on those, like stars. I'll put on screen now some from the Hubble and some from the James Webb telescope, because what you will notice in these photographs is that the lens flares are kind of all uniform, so they are all posed the same. They might be different sizes and different colors, some might be brighter than others, but they're all posed the same. So whenever I'm working with lens flares, I make sure that I'm using sort of the same angle every time I use the flare. So if you're going to put your first flare down at like a 45-degree angle, all the rest of them that you put in that piece, no matter where they are on the screen, they need to also follow the same rule, 45-degree angle. Now that's my rule. I think that's what looks best. Like I said before, if you want to break the rules, you first need to understand the rules. Yeah, I'll try find some other examples of this and I'll put them on the screen. It's likely you'll know what I'm talking about. You've probably seen this effect yourself where all the flares are sort of posed the same. So that's my first rule to using lens flares. There's only really two rules I follow with lens flares. The second one relates to blurring them and things like that. Before I jump into Photoshop, obviously if you're interested in lens flare kit, this is where you'll find it. I'll put a link in the description. It comes with 26 lens flares, a Photoshop brush, and a couple of gradient maps as well. So for this video, I'm working in 3000 by 3000 and 300 DPI, and this effect on the screen right now is what we're aiming to sort of recreate. The point being here is that if you have a render or if you have some like Chrome text or something like that, you can apply what I do to this blank PSD to your design and still get a cool sort of similar result. So first things first is to open the lens flare kit and install the star brush. You might have already done this, but if you've not, all you need to do on Windows is just double click the ABR file. If you're on Mac, or if that just didn't work, if you go into Photoshop, click on Window and click Brushes, and then when you get your brush menu up, click this hamburger menu here at the top right and click Import Brushes, and then if you just navigate back to where you were before and select the star brush ABR file, and it will install that way for you. Obviously I've already got that brush, so I'm just going to select that now, and on a new layer with white as my main color, I'm using a brush size of 50. I'm just going to start drawing sort of these like swooshes. I'm just going to do them one by one. This is a little bit of trial and error, so you can spend as long as you want on this bit really. It helps to just do sort of like a nice fluid motion. If you're going like zigzagging, it can look a little bit messy. Once you've laid down a fairly even like spread of these little stars, go up here to the top left and click on the little arrow next to your brush. Change the brush size. I'm going to half mine, and then again new layer, and then just start adding some smaller kind of little clusters. Don't go as long this time with your brush strokes, just keep it really small, and then repeat see it again, so I'm just going to make it smaller again, like nearly invisible basically. Once you're happy with that, highlight all your layers. Doesn't matter if you did it all on one layer. I'm just going to add a couple more. So yeah, highlight all your layers. To do that, just click on the top layer, hold shift, then click on the bottom layer, then right click and click convert to smart object. Duplicate your smart object, go up to filter, blur, and go to Gaussian blur. Now we're not looking for anything too small, because all you're going to do then is make the stars brighter. Not looking for anything too big, because all you're going to do there is sort of turn the background like a grey color rather than being black. Go with something that is kind of tight to the stars. I'm trying to describe this as best I can because I know that this won't be coming through very well on the video, and I'll have to zoom in a second. But if you copied all my settings with the document and the brush sizes, I'm probably going to go for like 35 pixels on this blur, so you can see that this is without the blur, this is with the blur. Then just change the blend mode of that layer to screen. You can repeat that step as many times as you want really, so if you just keep duplicating it and changing the strength of the blur until you're happy with how your stars look. I'm just going to highlight all those and put them in a folder just called star brush, so I know where all that stuff is. The next step is I want to go back into the lens flare kit folder and pick a lens flare. I don't know why these previews come through so weird. That's not how they look. If you pull them into Photoshop, you'll see. I'm going to pick one normal flare. Some examples of those would be like number 7, number 6, number 19, number 21, number 23. I'm probably going to go for number 19, and then I'm going to pick a flare with like a little bit more character. So some examples of those I think you'll be able to tell are like 24, 25, and 26, 15, number 12. Probably going to go for number 24, pull that in as well. And I'm going to hide number 24, and we're just going to work with number 19 for now. So here's where you're going to pick your angle. This is a little bit hard to fix later on if you want to change the angle. I'll throw some of the references that we were using before on screen now if you want to go with an angle that was in one of those. All I'm going to do is just hold shift and rotate mine 30 degrees. That's what I'm going to go for on mine. So then literally all you do from here is pick a spot for the lens flare. I'm gonna shrink it down. Helps to use the arrow keys to get the lens flare like on top of the stars that you created earlier. And then once you got it in a place you like, hold Alt and drag it to a new place, and then change the size, and then just repeat that again and again until you start to develop like a little cluster. I am gonna cut now to probably when I've created the first little cluster of stars and then show you what to do from there. Okay, so this selection here is what I'm gonna say is my first like little cluster of stars. I just placed all these by hand like you just saw. Now obviously I'm not putting like one lens flare on every single dot that the star brush has created. It's really personal preference which ones you put them on. What you can do from here, because this is obviously quite a tedious process, so if you just highlight your first little cluster that you've created, you can press Alt and drag it to another place in the document and shrink it, and then put it over one of the smaller clusters that you created with the smaller brush size, like over here in this corner here. These obviously look really scattered out, so when you're done, your eye's not going to pick up that these aren't actually sort of lined up properly with every single flare, so it won't matter too much. And then just go back to the cluster that you were working on before and just carry on doing them by hand until you've created another little cluster, and so on, and you just kind of repeat that until you've covered the entire PSD, all the stars that you want covered until they've all been covered basically. Again, I'm going to cut to that point now. Okay, so at this point, I've covered quite a lot of the PSD. I've covered quite a lot of the little stars that the brush made. I'm kind of happy at this point. If your computer or whatever you're working on is like dying because you've duplicated the same PNG a million times, you can save on some like RAM and stuff like that if you rasterize the lens flare that you're duplicating. I was just thinking that when I was sort of duplicating this, like I don't know how many times I've got 91 layers on this. So yeah, if you rasterize one of the larger flares, like I've used this one pretty big here, and then when you're duplicating, if you just duplicate from the larger one every time, you don't need all of them to be a smart object then. But yeah, I've done with mine. What I'm going to do is click on the lens flare at the top and then the lens flare at the bottom, press shift and click to select them all, right click and click convert to smart objects. Exact same as before that we did with the star brush output. I'm going to duplicate it, go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Now I'm going to go quite big on this one just because there's another way I'm going to blur them again in a second. So I've gone all the way to 200 pixels on my radius for this one. By the way, you'll see I've got this curves layer here. I've only got this turned on because on the video it looks very dark without this. It means that you can see the lens flares better without me having to zoom in. That's why yours might look a little bit different. Once you've done the Gaussian blur, I usually just turn that down to like half opacity and then go again to the base smart object that you created with all the lens flares on. Then this time just on the actual layer itself, go to filter, blur gallery, and I'm going to go to tilt shift. Now earlier, like I said, I put all of these at 30-degree angle. So again, when I get into the tilt shift, if you just hover over this circular node thing here, this lets you rotate the tilt shift. So I'm going to hover over that, hold shift, and it's not going to let me snap to 30 degrees. So I'm just going to get like as close as I can. Turn up the blur to the point where these ones on the edge, you can still see the shape of the lens flare, but it's really out of focus. So this inner line here, if you drag this all the way out, you're pretty much affecting nothing. This one here, this dotted line, this is where the blur ends. So by this point, the blur is at like max strength. So if you pull that in a little bit further, you're going to have more lens flares blurred at the max strength. If you pull it out, your blur is going to be more gradual. So that's what I'm going to do. But whatever, once you're happy with however that looks, just press OK. Now for reference, if I turn off my curves layer, this is what I've got, which looks a lot better without the curves layer on for me, but I know that this probably doesn't come through very well on the video, so I will leave the curves layer on for now. So for the last bit, I mentioned before to choose like a flare with a little bit more character. So if we unhide that now it's really up to you what you want to do with this one, but sometimes having a flare with a little bit more character at the same angle, hang on in the center of your like image, looks cool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it at the same angle. I'm going to put it on two of the bigger flares. So two of the largest flares that I added to this piece are going to get the extra flare added on top of them. I'm just going to turn the opacity down a little bit on them as well, so it's not too overbearing. That's what it looks like with the curves layer on. That's what it looks like for me. Then the last touch is color. So again, I'll throw up the reference that I made. Probably seen me use this effect like with the holograms as well. You can go as crazy as you want with the colors really. If you want really crazy colors, just get a new brush, open, just load a soft round brush, make sure you're not still using the star generator brush that we were using before. Make it as big as you like on a new layer, pick some random colors, draw wherever you like, then go to blend mode and click on color. You'll get something like that. And then if you're not happy with that, just click on your layer with the sort of brush spam on it, press Ctrl and U, and you can cycle the colors around, or you can just colorize, go for one color. I quite like this blue, so I'm just gonna go for mostly blues on mine. If you're wanting a color that is a little bit more realistic to what like a sky would look like, you can hide that, go to your background layer, create a new layer above that. You can go back to the lens flares folder, and you should have a folder called night sky gradients. If this one is not there, just go back to your order and download it from your order email, because it's a separate download. But if you double click these, it will install some new gradients in your Photoshop. Again, if you can't install them that way, you just go to Window, Gradients, click on the little hamburger menu, Import Gradients, and then navigate to the file that way, and it will install them for you. But on your new layer, go to the left where the paint bucket tool is, change that to Gradient tool. Click on this little arrow at the top, navigate to the gradient folder you just installed. You can select one of these. They're very boring gradients, which is why that they're not really center stage when I'm promoting this pack. Hold shift to draw a straight line, and you can draw something using one of those gradients and then turn the opacity down so it's nice and subtle. Experiment as much as you want with that. Once you've got something you like below the lens flares, if you duplicate that, pull it to the top and change the blend mode to color, turn the opacity up, you can sync the color of the lens flares with the color of the background like that. So this about covers my full process for using the lens flares. I mentioned earlier the two rules. So my first rule that I kind of always follow is the angles. The second one being blurring them. Obviously, if you're going to break those rules, that's fine, but you need to know the rules in order to break them. If you have just got a hold of lens flare kit and you're still working it out and you're just watching this video to learn, feel free to leave a comment or message me if you need any help using it. But either way, if you have lens flare kit, thank you. I really appreciate your support. If this video was helpful at all, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe or sign up to the mailing list, which you can find at the bottom of the website. But either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.